All right, so we're going to get started since it's 11:15 now. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. For those of you who are here in person and those of you who are online. And our presentation is entitled Broadening Horizons, Expanding the Writing Center Through Community-Based Writing Projects. Okay, and I'm Noah LaBelle. I'm the co-president of the Algonquin Regional High School Writing Center in Northborough, Massachusetts.
I'm Mia Lochhead, and I'm the other co-president.
So our writing center was founded in 2016. We're just going to give some general context because what follows needs explaining. And we're in the 6th year of operation as a writing center. So we've been going strong for a little while now.
Yeah, for us, we have 4 core values that we kind of live by when we're tutoring. And for people like it's on our website, it's collaboration, agency, inclusivity, and growth.
And this is our physical space and most of our staff.
All right, so to begin it off, we kind of wanted to talk about what our idea of community-based writing projects are. So we are hoping that you guys can click the QR code, and there is a Jamboard discussion post, and you can pick like either of the prompts. It's your what is your definition of a community-based writing project, or you can give an example of one that your school or your writing center has already done or plans to do.
Also, let us know if you need any. I know Jamboard can be like a little weird sometimes, so let us know if you need any help with adding a sticky note. And we're going to look at these responses at the end, so we
not
can
working.
Generate some ideas.
Maybe. There we go. We also need my Wi-Fi.
All right, how about we share out a little bit here? What's your impression of the phrase community-based writing project, or what are any ideas or any activities that you've already done as a writing center along that theme? Yeah.
We went to one of the elementary schools in our district on like the final of sharing their writing day party and listened to their stories and
That's awesome.
So for those of you on Zoom, they went to an elementary school and they kind of listened to these kids' final projects. And if you don't have one to share, you can share one that's on the Jamboard. We don't have it up right now, so if you see one you like,
but other than that, we reach out to the and we basically invite them like to our school and then spend like an hour and a half-ish with them, and then we just go over like some writing prompts and share them. And it's
awesome.
That's great. We're thinking about starting a senior center partnership with our writing center too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Somebody define community-based writing projects as using writing to connect the writing center to other parts of the community, for example, churches, elementary schools.
That's awesome. For those online, well, if you scan the Jamboard, you can probably see this, but somebody defined it as using writing as a way to connect with other parts of the community. All right, so we're gonna move along, and just so we can get everybody to know each other in the room a little bit. And if you're watching online, if you have other people who you're watching with, you could turn and talk with them.
You can open the chat, maybe.
Yeah, open up the chat. So if you don't know somebody who's by you, or if you do, you can say hi. Introduce yourselves and then talk about some of these ideas that you might be interested in pursuing, just off the top of your head. And then we're gonna get into some more guided brainstorming later. So if you could take like a minute or two to do that.
Move around, introduce yourselves. We can open up the chat.
Okay, we got something in the chat.
Awesome.
Okay, we got some.
We'll read it out for you guys to the group, just so everyone can hear it.
So from
East Wing.
East Wing in Georgia, they do a college night where students talk about different college app profs. That's awesome. And then from Brooklyn, tutors going down to the lower school to learn from young writers and share their ups and downs. That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that we're engaging with like younger students. That's something we're trying to do at our center too. All right, and get comfortable with these groups because we're going to be talking a lot of them during this presentation. So just to get started with talking about community-based writing projects, the broad ways that we like to think about it, at least in our center, and the ways we've thought that works well. There are many others, but what has worked well for us is sort of thinking about service-based community writing projects and like creativity-based writing projects. So two examples we have on the board here are there was a school shooting in Uvalde, Texas last year, and sort of responding to that event, we had there was a walkout that was led at our school, and then after that, we decided to host a letter writing campaign to senators and like elected officials pushing for more gun control legislation, and that just sort of like sprung up all of a sudden. But then we've also had more like planned out events and engagements, like a Pride Month memoir event where writers in the LGBTQ plus community came together to sort of share their coming out stories. And then we would share those with the rest of the school at bulletin boards and during announcements. And one of the things we began to notice is that we really wanted to engage in these sort of projects, but didn't really have like a theoretical understanding of how this happened, didn't have an understanding of what the scholarship was behind it. So in doing research, we discovered an article by SSWCA, which is all about creative placemaking in writing centers. And what creative placemaking is, it's pretty much ways to engage the community in ways that promote culture and arts and writing, or any sort of partnerships between different members of the community through creative expression. So one example that was mentioned in this article is the Fairfield University Writing Center sponsoring a Poetry for Peace program, which was and then going beyond that and building a partnership with Newtown, Connecticut school district after the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, as a way for the kids to sort of express the feelings that they had after that horrible event. And here's a quote that sort of grounds the work that we try to do at our center. What if we enlarged our understanding of writing center practice immeasurably by advancing conversations about multilingualism and internationalization, about social justice, anti-racism, and LGBTQ frameworks, about community engaged partnerships on and beyond our campuses? What if we gathered this work under one umbrella as the essential work, the grand narrative of what writing centers are and do? So for us, we've sort of, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this write-in for gun control. We sort of took that to heart in trying to think of ways where the writing center can't just be a place of tutoring, but can be a way to foster community engagement towards positive change. So the way that the write-in sort of worked, it was a collaboration with our school student council. And we built this database that had a whole bunch of different resources about like statistics about gun violence, and just in both like Massachusetts, where we're from, the US and the world as a whole, and then information about how to write a respectful letter to an elected official to push for change. And we were able to send a whole bunch of letters to elected officials at a writing event that we hosted. And then we created this resource for anybody in the future who might want to engage in similar letter writing campaigns. So that was a lot of sort of information about activism / social justice based writing projects, but we were wondering if you could all turn and talk about either projects like that you pursued in the activism / advocacy realms, or ideas that you might have for pursuing a similar thing. And then we're gonna share out as a big group after that. And we're gonna write some ideas on the board here. All right, we're gonna get back together into a big group now. We're just gonna jot down some ideas on the board that people might have had. So does anybody have any ideas that they would like to share from their discussions, or something that they've already done?
Yeah.
Under the creative writing column, I guess, using personal narratives to bring attention to specific organizations or fundraising.
Yeah, I'll say that. I'll write that down and say it for the people in the chat. So it was I'm blanking. Sorry. Using personal narratives. That was using
That's a big.
using personal narratives.
Fundraise.
And on Zoom, feel free to put something in the chat we can put out on the whiteboard for people to see.
To fundraise /
And we'll get into creative writing in our next part a little bit more.
Okay, anything else from the discussions? Yes.
I was talking this nice group here, and they were talking about how it could be fun to do something, you know, like on a monthly basis that I guess would be creative or to bring awareness, like you were saying, like for Women's History Month, or Black History Month, and to have like sort of ongoing
Focused events.
focuses
Yeah.
so that it's not just like a panel.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, I'll put this up.
Yes.
So for those of you online, it was like figuring out more of how we can include people with IEPs in projects. Yeah. IEPs,
Yes.
yeah. Anna.
I think like being in the general environment has operations that writing themselves, not only to like by whatever, but fundraising efforts they have to share, but also like maybe like self-reflective as well, like write about experience. I've never been in any environments, but I've heard so much about other students. Really like inspirational behaviors to the way other schools operate.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's like a broad idea. I'm gonna put it on the top. Which is
Could
like,
you restate it for
Yeah, for those of you on the Zoom, Hannah was talking about for us the idea of just being able to connect with other writing centers, especially through this conference, hearing new people who have different ideas, different projects, and kind of being able to do something together, collab, get ideas. We got one on Zoom from East Wing. Our center does a fun program called Pen Pals, where students are assigned a kid to write to. I really like that idea.
all right. Mr. C.
Well, you were talking about other sort of writing program control, and along the lines of like ongoing events for history month, other sort of current issues that would respond to climate crisis and action. And also we along with the pen house potentially writing to active military personnel service abroad.
For those of you online, they were talking about having more events to address current issues like climate action and also writing to service people abroad.
I was thinking like going off like the IEPs and the 504s, like we could use creative writing, like maybe like how we used creative writing in the Pride event that we did last year. You can use it to like bring awareness to like mental health issues and how that can affect people's writing and ability to write assignments for school and write in general. So it's not really like talked about how like the lack of motivation that goes with like depression or anxiety like affects a person's ability to complete writing assignments.
Yeah.
Kind of expanding people's views, like having articles and learning about it.
All right, I love where we're going. And we're gonna talk even more about creative writing. Oh,
One more from the
got
chat.
another from the chat.
From the Herndon Writing Center. They say, we do to all the books I've loved before, where students in the school write love/breakup letters to their favorite or least favorite books. Then the librarians post the letters in the library. Oh wait, I'll pull it up just so you guys can see it. I love that.
That is great. I love all the ideas we're getting right now. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I hope everyone's being able to take away something from this.
All right.
Okay, so Noah was kind of talking about the advocacy service-based projects, and this idea, it goes with two of our core values, collaboration and inclusivity, kind of like going into that, building those ideas. And a lot of the projects we do are just like, something happens, like the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, and right away we're like, we need to do something. So kind of like taking action on those. The other things we do is creative writing-based projects for the community. And 2 examples we have up here is we do a holiday card making drive, which is where we had a bunch of students come in and make cards for kids who are hospitalized. And it was just a great environment. We had food, we had a bunch of colorful decorations. And then we also do every year this thing called Write for a Cause, where we raised over $1,300 last year. And it's this cool event where there's a bunch of different prompts throughout the library, and there's different teams. And at all points of the night, one member of your team has to be writing for the entire time. So for us, it was really just keeping that idea of creative writing go. I think what we did last year was like one person wrote a sentence on their thing, passed it to the next person, and it kept going around and around for like half an hour. It was great. And we read it after, and it was the weirdest thing in the world, but it was the best time ever. And for creative writing, it's really just this idea of having a growth mindset and people having their own voice and agency as they go on that, which is our other 2 core values. So going on to that, we watched a TED Talk video, which we thought was really cool. It was talking about the importance of creative writing, and it was Vanessa Chan talking. And she was a teenager talking about this, but she's talking about how creative writing holds a lot of power and potential, especially for high school students. It has the opportunity for experiential learning, which is the idea of learning by doing, and students learn social, English, and moral education from it. Writers possess ownership over their own original creative works, which is super important because it's the idea of agency for them. They gain a closeness, deeper understanding, and emotional connection to the story they wrote and the systems written in these pieces of writing, which is even bigger, kind of going into that, like they're connecting with these pieces. And then works of fiction and mediums of creative nonfiction, poetry, and fiction give students a space to take a deep breath from kind of like the stressful idea of school and everything else on their plate. They can give themselves a new perspective on what they want to write about. So one quote we had is, students who believe in themselves are able to learn better. That's why ownership is important, because students can look back at how far they've come and say, well, that was me. And fiction writing offers this unique ownership because they wrote the story, and that's so important. The second quote we pulled is, fiction just isn't escapism, hobby, or something fun that people do. Instead, it gives us a space to take a deep breath, to prepare for the next battle, and to gain a new perspective. It's a meaningful recess from reality. I really like that last part when it was talking about meaningful recess from reality, because it gives you that space where you can experiment, you can have that growth mindset. You can go into these ideas that you're not able to experiment with in school. And our job is really in the Writing Center to give people those opportunities to experience that and kind of experiment. So one club that I'm so thankful that we did is I talked to our 2 co-directors and asked if there was a place for me to create a poetry club at our school. So last year we created the Algonquin Poetry Club, and we do fun activities. There's this thing called Exquisite Corpse, kind of what I was talking about the story. You write one line, fold it over, pass it to the next person. There's different prompts, and it is the most unrelated lines that go together, but it's really cool when they kind of fit together when you read it out loud as a whole group. We also do things such as blackout poetry, other creative writing activities. And what's really nice is we can do collaboration with the Algonquin Writing Center. So last year we helped out with the open mic night, which was this big event where there were music groups, there were creative writing speakers, there were poetry people speaking. It was really nice because people were just outside, they're talking. And this year we had another one, which is really cool to see. I think it was like
Red carpet.
red
Yeah,
carpet theme. Yes, and everyone got super dressed up, and it was really cool. It was in our Black Box Theater. This year, they will be helping with the Write for a Cause event because we're looking in the Poetry Club to make a chapbook with the theme of Poems for Peace. So our goal is to kind of have a section in the Write for a Cause where people can just leave poems and kind of contribute to that chapbook, which we hope to get published. So with a lot of that information, we kind of wanted people to turn and talk with your neighbors and go over ideas of what creative writing projects that your community can use or ones you've heard that you've liked. So you can kind of add more on because we already have a fair amount, but anything new that kind of comes to mind. And Zoom people, please like add in the chat again. But does anyone, before we go on, does anyone have anything they'd like to share that they talked about, a new idea of the community-based project? Yes.
I was just talking about how, we have a literary magazine at our school that's separate from the writing center. And to collaborate with that group to bring them in and to have some regular writing days where we're having a bit of fun with writing, but we're working towards publishing in literary magazine. So build some bridges, but also give full opportunities to just write for fun.
Yeah, so for people on Zoom, one of our participants just said kind of collabing with the literary magazine at our school that's separated, but kind of like having those days where they can just come in, write, have creative writing prompts, just get that going. So kind of for submissions, to get more submissions for the group.
And in the chat, we had this here, Freshman Takeover is an event that East Wing has where they do creative writing prompts for the freshmen, which sounds awesome. And then I love this idea of they have an event at this school about going to elementary schools and helping them with academic writing. But if we could do a similar sort of thing with creative writing, I think that would be really, really impactful too, especially for like all the personal agency stuff. Getting kids interested in writing that early would be awesome. Yeah,
just with the idea of kind of having a growth mindset, if you can start kids even at an earlier age, just this idea that creative writing will help with that. Like I think they'll go a long way when they're older. All right, so we've got a lot of ideas on the board, and don't worry, we are going to be using them in a second. We're all going to collectively be doing some deeper brainstorming. So along that note, we have a handout that we're going to give everyone. And what we're hoping to do right now is have everybody work in their small groups, or for the people online, if you have somebody else that you're working with, or they're like watching with somebody else, or if not, you can just do this on your own. We're going to be going through figuring out a new community-based writing project or partnership that you can build with your center and implement as soon as you get home from this conference. So we're hoping that everyone can collectively like reflect on their center's core values, figure out what's important to them in that sort of work, what they already are doing, and then figuring out if there are any community partnerships that you already have, because that's a really easy way to start, is looking at other groups that you might work with. And then taking into consideration how to like promote an event or something like that, or thinking of just like any next steps for that. So we have a physical handout that we just gave here, but we can, I'm going to try to put a link in the chat to this handout here, or you can just go and look at these questions and respond there. Yeah, definitely. Like we can just start out with the core values people have. We'll give people a couple minutes to write down your writing center's core values, what they mean to you, and we'll share those, and then we'll move on to the next part of the handout. All right, so let's all. Oh, we can come back together. Let's all regroup. Hopefully, we've got some good ideas brewing. Is anybody like really excited about anything that they came up with that they want to share out? All right, Lee, what do you have?
I really listened to Freelance is like to reach out to one of our job with face to face. Like we sort of a little policy about when things are going on in your lives, just makes that
Children.
Yeah.
We're kind of, I don't know, as an elementary, like we're like trying to find a younger age, so. And ask like, cartoon characters or something like that.
For those of you on Zoom, we had someone say maybe collaborating with one of the libraries. We're from a regional school, so from either town, and kind of working with the children's department to kind of teach them what a haiku is, or creative poetry, creative writing, so that they can kind of implement that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think there are communities.
That'd be really cool. So for online folks, we were discussing providing people an opportunity to learn how to get more involved with advocacy, especially like any town-based issues that might be coming up. We've got some things in the chat, so we can go through those. And so one of the things for core values, we had some people talk about accountability and making sure everybody's like working together and ensuring that everybody's working towards the same goal, which is awesome. And everyone learns. I love that as like sort of a theme for like everything that Writing Center work is about.
Just
And
having that growth
yeah,
mindset.
that applies to everyone in this work. Okay, and then using pen pals, we will try to jumpstart a mentorship between student and pen pal. We hope we can help elementary. We hope we can help elementary kids start learning how to write proper essays. Yeah, I think that would be great. Just engaging the community in that way would be awesome.
Want to leave you guys with one thing. Oh, sorry, I didn't click that correctly. The last thing we kind of wanted to talk about was just like a reminder to tutors, to writing centers, that like there are going to be challenges, there may be failures, there's going to be mistakes. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like as we are working through this, we've had some events. Like this year, the Poetry Club, it's been harder to find leadership to kind of help set up meetings and make it kind of more of a weekly thing. And we also had to cancel one of our college writing essay workshops because of lack of participation. So like we have had instances where things don't work out, but we also have learned from those mistakes. And for us, we've learned that advertising and marketing are a key part of community-based writing projects, and making sure that your school, the community as a whole, like they know what's going on, and like you're really just feeding that information over and over, because some kids don't listen the first or third or fifth time. Like you have to keep going and going, and just there's a big importance in kind of learning from your mistakes and failures and kind of taking that. And with that, we'd like to say, reflection already did that.
So that's all we have for today. So thank you. Hopefully
Thanks
this
for
is
coming.
helpful. And I highly encourage, we can say in chat about any other ideas that people might have, but I highly encourage you to take, if you want an extra copy of this handout, or just like take the one that you already have, take it to your center or take it to people at lunch, just have a discussion about any sort of ideas that you might have, and then work together to try to think about how we can make it happen.
We also will move out of the way for people in person to kind of write things down, because I know there's a lot. We will take a photo. We should take a photo of that. And we will leave the worksheets here if anyone wants to take an extra. We have extras.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, guys.